What's good, YouTube? I'm back. So I've done like a whole new setup, as you can see. I'm not sure if this is what we're going to be using going forward, but this is like kind of the initial idea, as you can see. There's still a bit of work to be done on this, but yeah, let's get going. So I'll be profiling Giratina today. This is like a deck that I've been playing. I really enjoy it. It's really fun. It's really good. Not sure how good it actually is, though. I mean, the best player at EUIC, or the number one finishing player in day one of Swiss, was playing Giratina. But there was none in top 8. So maybe, maybe it isn't that good. Maybe it is really that good. Maybe the guy just got really unlucky. So let's see. So to start things off, I play free Giratina Vstar. I want to kind of go into Giratina Vstar first because it's the key card. It's the reason why you're playing this version of the deck. So Lost Impact, 280, put 2 energies attached into a Lost Zone. So for this one, not familiar, the way this deck operates is you want to get into key numbers into the Lost Zone. So you want to get 4 so you can attack one of your Pokemon, 7 so you can use one of your item cards, and 10 so you can use this card's V-Star power and Sableye. So yeah, 280, crazy damage, just one-shots a lot of things in the format. And what's even crazier is this V-Star power, which just knocks out anything if you have 10 cards in the Lost Zone. Anything, any card you want. You just boss up, V-Star it away. That's it. It's gone. It's finished. It's over. Moving on. So pre-evolution, free Giratina V. Abyss Seeking is really strong. If your opponent's playing a lot of Clef Keys, you're going to be aiming to use Abyss Seeking as much as possible. So look at top four cards of your deck, put 2 of them in Lost Zone, 2 of them into your hand. It's basically just a bigger version of Comfy, but it's an attack, so it will end your turn. And then Shred, which is now super important, does 160 and it isn't affected by any effects of your opponent's active Pokemon. So, as many of you might be aware, Sander's control list is around everywhere. Everyone's not playing it, and that control list loses really hard to Giratina V. Mimikyu's ability is mainly, well, Mimikyu's ability prevents damage, and this just goes instantly through it, kills it, so you don't have to worry about that, which makes this an insanely good matchup for you. But yeah, nothing else to really say about good old Giratina V. It's just is there to evolve, and in some matchups is there to shred or Abyss Seeking. Suppose using Clef Keys, you ideally just sub, go Abyss Seeking, since all your comfies, which are right here, will have no effect. So like I said, comfy, flower selecting. You look at 2 cards from top of your deck, put 1 to your hand, 1 to Lost Zone. This is a key card of this deck. This is how you fill your Lost Zone. And not much else to say about the card. You're just trying to get You're trying to get 2 to 3 down. You're trying to get Giratina V down. You're trying to get to 7 in Lost Zone or 4 to attack with a Cramorant, and then you just go from there. Speaking of Cramorant, we play 2 copies of the bird. He is right here. We play him for spin instantly. You do 110 damage. If you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, you ignore the energy cost for this attack. Pretty solid. It builds up damage. Going Cramorant into Shred sometimes can just kill something. It can kill some of the smaller V-Star Pokemon. Or you can just set things up for later as well. So you know, Cramorant, Giratina V, and late game use Sableye to put 12 damage counters, put 1 damage counter on there, and something else so you can dodge like Roxanne turns, which is something pretty relevant. The other boy we're playing is Sableye. Yeah, Lost Mine is really good. It's a really strong attack. So like I say earlier, if you have 10 cards in a Lost Zone, you put 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon anywhere you like. So yeah, that's really good, right? You're just gonna get to late game, you're just gonna start Sableye looping, you'll be taking KOs and anything you want. And the idea is that this gets you there quicker, and if they have anything bigger, you just go to V just to get rid of it. I do play 1 copy of Drapion just for Mew. Mew's still above a problematic matchup. This is super strong as Gardevoir as well. I did lose my first game at USC because I judged my opponent into a Drapion Mirage Gate. So they just Mirage Gated onto the Drapion V, promoted and attacked, and one shot my Gardevoir, which is really sad. But what can you do? Yeah, so it's mainly here from you. Its wild style ability does reduce its attack cost for every Rapid Strike, Fusion Strike, and Single Strike Pokemon. This sometimes does come up against Urshifu as well. You can just attack with this early to get some damage in, and then finish off with a Cramorant. It's something that a lot of people realize it's kind of slept on in its own little way. But yeah. Next, everyone's hated card, everyone's loved card, Greninja. This card's broken. This card, 1 energy, draw 2. Pretty good, yeah. But its other attack is even better. Its attack is just better, which is this card 2 energies from its Pokemon. It does 90 to your opponent's Pokemon. So against something like Lugia, you would use the Greninja, discard the Greninja Moonlight Shuriken onto both of the Archeops, and a Sableye pick up both Archeops, and then all of a sudden you've just killed Archeops. So that's really strong. Putting the spread damage as well makes Sableye all that better. The fact there's draws as well just makes it even better than it already is. And yeah, I mean this deck probably would be a lot worse without this card. So, and to counter this card, we do play the 1 copy of Manaphy, which will round up all the Pokemon. Its Wave Veil ability prevents all damage done to bench Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's Pokemon. So this will prevent the Greninja, but it won't prevent stuff that puts damage counters like the Sableye, so something to be wary of. But it does mean in the early game, if you just go comfy, and then Manaphy, it means your opponent can't just Greninja just to get rid of the Manaphy, which is very relevant. So yeah, we're going to move on to some item cards. Mandatory for Battle VIP. This card is insane in this deck, especially because you have draw power. It lets you search a deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench. Really strong. But yeah, the drawback is you can only use it during your first turn. So this deck did lose Quick Ball, which is a bit rough, but Battle VIP kind of makes up for it. Ideally, in the early game, you're going to be digging to get as many Battle VIPs down, to get as many of your Pokemon down, so you can get stuff powered up as quickly as possible. To help with that, I do play 4 Nest Ball. Nest Ball is just a mini Battle VIP, which you can use whenever. So it just searches your deck for basic Pokemon and puts it onto the bench. No, yeah, pretty solid. Like I said, having 8 Ball Search cards essentially is pretty strong. You're trying to hit as many of these as possible in the early game, and then potentially hold Nest Balls for the late game. So you can like Nest Ball for a Sableye and stuff like that. Then we play 4 copies of Mirage Gates. That's the card I was talking about. It if you have 7 more cards in the Lost Zone, you can use it, and it searches deck for 2 basic energies of different types. Very important. I see a lot of people misplay putting 2 of the same energy, which you can't do. Onto your Pokemon any way you like. So you can sometimes use Mirage Gate, put Psychic here, energy onto Comfy, Retrieve Comfy, attack of Sableye. Mirage Gate onto Greninja, Water, whatever, any other energy you have, and attach Water to Greninja, then attack of Greninja. You get there, you get the idea. This card is super strong. It's the reason why Turbo Lost Zone is such a strong deck, is because Mirage Gate and Greninja, you can get to 7, power up anything you need. Something to power up the Greninjas to do a lot of early damage. Since we did lose Scoop Up Net, we do now play 4 Switch Cards. Switch Card also heals, which is quite nice. So it switches your active basic Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. And it heals 30, which is pretty solid. The healing does come up a little bit, especially if your opponent puts stray damage onto like Comfies. You can switch card to heal the card to heal it. It's very important as well. This only switches a basic from active. So if you have a Giratina Vstar, you can't switch it. But you can switch into the Giratina Vstar, which is perfectly fine. I do play a couple of other switching options. So I do play 2 copies of Escape Rope. Yeah, just more switching options. Escape Rope does mean that you can switch out your opponent's Pokemon as well. So it's something like Gardevoir. If you Escape Rope, they're most likely gonna give you like a dead card in the active, like a Mew or something that you can't KO. If you just Escape Rope, you can pick off a Ralts, which is huge. And it has other applications against certain other decks. The main other one is like Rhydon. So Regieleki V reduces incoming damage by 100 if it attacks, so you can just Escape Rope it away and do the damage anyways. I did play 1 copy of Switch. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's just a Switch, right? It's just this. It's just a. If this could be a 5th Switch cart, it would be a fifth Switch cart, but you can't play 5, so a Switch will do. To round up the items, I do play the 1 Energy Recycler. You need it. You go for a lot of energies very, very quickly. It shuffles 5 basic energies from a discard pile into your deck. Giratina puts them into Lost Zone, so you have to be very cautious on what energies you're actually Lost Zoning to make sure you have enough to attack all the other Pokemon. This does mean that if you discard a lot of energies early through multiple different attackers or just to draw with Greninja, you're still good. Moving on to stadiums, one Temple of Sinnoh, and I just realized this Temple of Sinnoh is horribly miscut. And then yeah, you're playing this for Lugia. You're playing this for Mew. Having a Temple of Sinnoh means that V-Guard energy doesn't work, so Giratina can now one-shot Lugia. It also means, yeah, sometimes it would mean that Mew can't attack, so it's pretty solid. And then we play one copy of Beach Court as just a way to switch around. I don't know, I've been thinking maybe you should be playing Path to the Peaks. The only issue is if you play Path to the Peaks, you have to play Scoop Up, you have to play Vacuums, so the list changes around quite a lot. Maybe second Temple of Sinnoh would be the correct idea. It depends. You can kind of tailor this more towards your local meta. If there's a lot of Lost Box players, then you just play double Temple of Sinnoh, since they're going to give you a Beach Court anyways. So yeah, not much else to really say about it. It just reduces their basics Pokemon retreat cost by 1, so it means Comfy has free retreat. And yeah, it just makes up for the fact that we lost Scoop Up now. Now, moving on to supporters. 4 copies of Chorus. Yeah, as I said multiple times, this card's insane. You look at top 5 cards of your deck, put 3 of them to Lost Zone, 2 of them to your hand. Oh, 3 into your hand, sorry, 2 into Lost Zone. This does fuel Lost Zone very quickly. Is what you're trying to hit into turn 2, ideally, as quickly as possible. Even turn 1, if you're going first, you want to kind of get Colress, comfy. As 4, you can attack with Cramorant. So yeah, not much else to really say about it. This fuels the entire deck. This is kind of like the lifeblood of this deck. This plus comfy, without those cards, this deck wouldn't work. Next supporters, I do play 2 copies of Roxanne. So if your opponent has 3 cards remaining, if you have 3 or fewer prize cards remaining, sorry, you both shuffle your hand into the deck. You draw 6, your opponent draws 2. So it's just disruption against Lost Box mirrors. If you just Roxanne them and take out Comfy, sometimes they won't be able to recover. You do play 2 copies though in case of early game where you lost them one of them, so you still have the second one, or if you prize one, so you just kind of don't miss it. So you can afford to lost zone these cards. To round up supporters, I do play 2 copies of Boss's Orders. Yeah, picking up whatever you want to KO with Giratina is really strong. Outside of that, Boss is not really as strong. It's mainly here for the Giratina, sometimes maybe the Sableye, maybe the Drapion. It's not as strong as in the Turbo Lost Zone, because the Turbo Lost Zone has other V attackers, so you can pick off anything that's really weak. In this deck, you're mainly going to be picking off stuff that can kill with Giratina, so you can afford to Lost Zone. A boss or 2. Well, you don't want to Lost Zone if you can afford to, but you can. It's not the end of the world. It's not as bad as in the other decks. And then yeah, to kind of round the deck profile up, I do play 5 Psychic Energies. There's a lot more Psychic attackers in this deck. Giratina, Sableye. Giratina's really energy hungry, so you have to play a lot of energies. I opted to play like a high energy count just so I have more targets from Rush Gate and my Giratina can attack the extra times. The next one is Water Energy. I don't have the new ones. I don't have any of the new Psychic Energies, so forgive me for that. But yeah, the Water's here for Greninja. It's pretty much only here for Greninja. You need 2 to attack with Greninja, so you can afford to loss in 1 or 2 as well. Ideally, in the late game, you're going to Mirage Gate a Water onto Giratina to loss zone the Water, since it's not very relevant. But the other energy that's very relevant is Grass. So Giratina Vstar's attack cost is Psychic, Grass, Colorless, so you need the Psychic and the Grass. Psychic is just a high count because you play Sableye. And then yeah, this is kind of like the deck. It's really fun to play. I like Giratina. How it's positioned in the format, I'm not too sure, especially after EOIC results. Maybe the deck is a lot stronger than it actually seems, or what people give it credit to. Give credit for. Giratina Vstar still insane. Maybe the deck needs to change around a little bit, but it should still have a pretty good position in the format, especially now with Duraludon, with this whole Arceus Duraludon deck winning. This deck might have a really good chance because he can just take out an Arceus with Giratina and then just V-Star away the Duraludon for 3 prizes. And all you would need is just pick off 1 extra weak Pokemon. And kind of that, yeah. So kind of want to hear your feedback in the comments. What do you think of this format? What do you think of this template? Should I change it up? Is it clear? Maybe some of the cards aren't like the best quality. Maybe I should change that. I do aim to kind of change the visual quality, as you can see under deck profiles. It doesn't seem like a little bit too zoomed in, which bugs me a little bit. But with this whole like slide on the side, you should be able to see every single card, and then this kind of uses as a reference. For people who are very familiar with these cards, it's very quick just to look at this and be like, okay, they're playing this, and that. For people who are not so familiar, the slideshow is there, so you can read the cards. You can kind of pause the video, read the card, and then kind of unpause the video and go along until I understand every single card. This kind of allows me not to spend too much time explaining some of these cards, which a lot of people might be bored by because this deck has been around for 7-8 months. A lot of people are very much familiar with kind of these cards, but this also here for the newer players as well. If you're new to the game, you kind of want to pick up a deck and play. This is kind of for you, so you understand. If you want to kind of understand how to sequence in this deck, it doesn't change. You should go back and watch the previous video on the end of it, kind of talk about how you should sequence if you have this certain specific cards. And yeah, see you in the next video.